everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the Real Romance 2019 Movie Awards. If you didn't catch the first one, please do. It has all of the different categories, including superhero, comedy, horror, thrillers, drama, indie films, sci-fi action, streaming services, kids, and animated, where we choose all our favorites, and we'll go through all of those at the end of this pod.
Sorta.
So, if you haven't heard part 1, please go listen to that one. Or, you can just listen to this, because this is going to be a crazy fun time. This is all the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak.
And the
Well, that's pretty ugly. Well, my name is Robert. This is Brittany. She's my wife. We have a podcast.
Sorta. Also sorta.
Sorta. Meh.
We try.
Yeah, and trying is like 3/4 of it. We had a little long one last time. We're going to try to keep this one under an hour, and hopefully we can cover everything we need to cover and be entertaining as we do so.
We have to keep it under an hour. It's our bedtime soon.
Yeah, we're old people. We have our popcorn.
My popcorn. You can have a little.
We have our drinks, and we're going to have a good time. So, kick off. We're going to go with the ones that we went and saw that we weren't as big a fan of.
The disappointing.
Yeah, the disappointing ones. The ones that we had high hopes for,
even if they
went
weren't,
into, and
like,
weren't
super bad, but they were just like, this isn't what we thought it was going to be.
right. We're also going to talk about our honorable mentions, the 10 movies that did not make our nominees list, but still deserve to be talked about. We're going to go over all of our favorite performers, both male and female, and we're going to pick our winner after discussing the ones that we couldn't even bring ourselves to see. So, to start off, let's go through the movies that we went to, that we had hopes for, and those hopes were
dashed on a blanket of rocks. Jagged.
Craggy, even. Alright, so that's what we're going to talk about.
Hopefully with better metaphors.
Uncut gems. How's that?
Are they pointy gems?
That is a segue if I've ever heard one. Alright, so.
That's the one we've seen the most recently.
Yes, that was the last movie we saw, and I heard great things about it.
Yeah, and didn't Brad Pitt say it was going to be your new favorite Adam Sandler movie?
Everyone said it was awesome, right? Oh, Adam Sandler, he shines. It's Oscar-worthy. This is so good. You have to go see it. So
we should have known better.
I kind of dragged Brittany to it because I was like, this is going to be a great film. And granted, there were a few redeemable things about it. Essentially,
the end.
Adam Sandler plays a Jew. Roll credits, right? No, just kidding.
He's not even a nice Jew.
He plays a Jew
like
in everything. Because he is Jewish. But no, he sells jewelry. And
he's like a Jewish Italian. He's like, think a Jew, but Jersey Shore.
More Italian-y.
But Jersey Shore-ish.
That's just New York.
But
right? So
sort of, I guess.
Anyway,
I've never been there. I don't know.
Adam Sandler, he sells jewelry, and he buys this really rare uncut opal from, like,
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, thank you.
I watched the
I was
movie.
thinking Mongolian. I'm like, that's not right. That's in Asia. Anyway.
One of us watched the movie.
He buys it. One of us almost fell asleep, too.
It was too loud. The whole movie was loud for no reason.
Regardless. And he buys this rock, and he meets up with a famous basketball player. Kevin Durant. No. Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
Right?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Kevin Garnett. And he's like, I've got to have this rock. And Adam Sandler's character is going to put it in auction. And that's how he's going to make his money. Because this is like $1 million. Right? This is $1 million rock. And he's like, all right, I'll loan it to you, but give me your championship ring. And it turns out Kevin Garnett has a crazy good game. And the whole movie... He
becomes, like, obsessed with the rock.
Right, but the whole movie is, like, Adam Sandler trying to get this rock back.
Adam Sandler has a gambling addiction.
Oh, yeah, and every time he gets anything, he has to put money on a basketball game.
So he takes the ring, he pawns it, and uses the money to bet on a game. But he owes his brother-in-law, who is
a ton of money.
$100,000.
Right, that's how he got this uncut opal from Ethiopia to begin with. But the whole movie is just him, getting beat up by the mafia, trying to get his break. He has a He has a ditzy side chick while he's married to Idina Menzel.
She's not so ditzy. She deserves better, honestly.
Yeah. But through the whole thing, it was just... I was waiting for it to kind of change in his favor, so things were good.
When we were waiting for things to get exciting.
Adam Sandler just kept getting kicked while he was down, and he put himself in the situation every time.
That's what addicts do.
Right, but he kept digging his own hole. It was never supposed to be a happy ending, but it does fool you for a second. It does try to fool you for a second. But yeah, things don't turn out well for Adam Sandler, and it didn't turn out well for us either. I was just kind of like...
It was about 2 hours and what?
Like 2 hours and 30 minutes long.
It was so long.
It could have been an hour and a half and made the exact same point.
And it would have been a much better movie.
No, there's a scene where he's like sexting his sexy girlfriend.
And it was completely unnecessary.
No, but Adam Sandler, this 50-year-old guy...
He's gotta be my age.
He's like, are you wet? How wet are you? A boo boo de bee ba boo.
It's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
This is
official runtime.
It's like, no, don't freaking. It's so weird. Seeing
like,
Adam Sandler get off to some lingerie chick.
You think it's gonna have some kind of oh, maybe she's actually cheating on him, and she's not. There's no.
She's committed, and this is the weirdest thing is that she's fallen head over heels.
There's
for him.
no point to some of the scenes. There was no real payoff.
No,
they were just there. Some of the scenes were just there so that the girl would be mostly naked. Some of the scenes were just there because I'm not sure. The whole movie was just
But it's all violence and language, and it's definitely R-rated, but they could have... And they throw in all these random celebrities, The Weeknd is there, and, basketball players like Kevin Garnett, and...
he at least made sense.
Yeah. I mean, it is more central to the plot, but it's what basketball player could we get? Okay, why not? Right? And they just pulled him into it. All right, the next disappointment that we had was Between Two Ferns on Netflix.
Okay, it started out as a little short series on YouTube?
I think it was Funny or Die.
And they were really funny.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen them. The shorts are really funny.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis sits down with random celebrities and asks them bogus questions and just turns it into a big, goofy...
It's a comedy.
...thing. Right, but they're only 3 or 4 minutes long.
And they sit between two ferns.
2 ferns. Roll credits.
Okay, so you think this movie is going to be hilarious.
Because the skits are hilarious.
And it wasn't.
There were a couple of funny moments, but the whole time it just feels so contrived, forced... And the jokes that they were trying to make just didn't hit.
No.
I felt.
I thought it was going to be really good and really hilarious.
Because they pulled celebrities they had.
They had a lot of celebrities come in.
It's really sad when the outtakes are funnier than what was in the movie. And a lot of movies do put bloop reels on the end to make you laugh at the end for one last laugh. But that was almost all the funny was the parts that they did not managed to put into the film.
The whole movie was one last laugh of Jack Galifianakis' career.
Yeah. Unless they make Hangover 4.
Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We never finished Hangover 3.
Nope.
Oh well.
Too hungover.
Too
right.
hungover, too furious.
So the next one on our list is Lion King, which was a box office hit.
It's not a bad movie.
Right, made a ton of money.
Like I said earlier, not all of these are bad movies. But...
why was it disappointing to you?
Lion King was the first movie I ever saw in theaters as a child.
Okay.
And I've watched it more times than I could ever count. So I have the movie, I know what happens in the movie. I've memorized it. I can quote you back the lines, Going into this, I wasn't that excited. Because I was like, how are they going to make it better? Spoiler alert.
Did they make it better?
No.
What? They didn't make it better?
I'll try to sum up my complaints in a short list.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Lightning.
Beyonce, though great, nothing against Beyonce. I felt like they cast her just so they could be look, we got Beyonce in our movie.
Cash cow.
They gave her a song. Though not a bad song, she does a good job at doing it.
It's also utterly forgettable. I literally do not remember
does not go in the movie well.
At least in Beauty and the Beast, you can remember Dan Stevens' song as the Beast.
It was a good song.
It's a good song. Beyonce's did not even...
Number 2. Idris Elba, also incredibly talented, was not a good Scar.
Wait, Idris Elba? I thought it was Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, you're right. Either way, my bad. I'm thinking we just saw that commercial with Idris Elba in it.
Oh, you're right.
Anyway.
Regardless, Jeremy Irons did phenomenal in the original.
And they should have just let him do it.
Even though there's like, oh, well, you know. And I appreciate that Disney wanted to have a mostly, if not all, black cast.
Oh, that was whatever. Like that.
But he just did so well. And transitioning from animated to live action.
There are still black actors that would have done a better job.
No, what I'm saying is transitioning from...
Actually, Idris Elba probably would have done a better job.
He might have. But going from animated to quote-unquote live action where everything is animated, like, you could, in theory, keep most of the same voice actors and retain the essence. But I guess you're not...
I also really didn't like how they felt like... They were like, let's make everyone black unless you're not a lion. Right. Like, no.
If you're a bird, boom, you're John Oliver. What about Timon?
Billy
on the street.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen was Pumbaa. like, and then everyone else is black. Rafiki, I have no idea.
I don't remember.
I don't know who played Rafiki.
I mean, he's not a...
not a major speaking role.
He's not a lion either, so...
True. So, who knows? It could have been... Adam Sandler.
My fourth problem with it was that the lions, I understand they tried to make them look realistic. I get it. I do. But lions can still emote. Like, they could have... It's still a fake movie.
But they don't emote like actual cartoons do. And with the movie magic, they could have done that.
They could have a little bit more. Just a little bit. A little bit.
Like, they...
Also, I didn't like how the lions... I have a biology degree, so I know a little bit about lions. They're not my specialty or anything, but I did work with a couple. And they have different color manes. Not in this movie, they don't. All the same color. Scar looked like they took Shere Khan.
That's the one.
They looked like they took Shere Khan and turned him into a lion instead of a tiger. And they gave him just a generic mane, just like all the other lions. But lions' manes come in a variety of colors, including reddish and darkish manes. So they could have given Simba and Mufasa reddish-colored manes, and they could have given Scar darkish-colored manes.
It sounds like a lot of nitpicking, but having that high of a threshold, it's like they had to go above and beyond. Like, in Aladdin, which we talked about in the last pod, check it out.
They at least tried.
Right, and they did a few things different, but it had something new to offer. And I felt like because they were all CGI, it was like the exact same story, only
the hyenas also weren't funny.
Oh no, not near as funny as Whoopi and the rest.
Whoopi Goldberg should have come back. That would have been funny. I liked that the hyenas were funny. I get why they made them serious, but I didn't like it. There was nothing special, and I didn't like the changes they made.
Okay.
And they didn't add anything better. And they also said, can you feel the love tonight during the daytime? That's a nighttime song.
Ooh, I bet it is.
Did you see the first movie?
Alright, but speaking of animals, let's talk about 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, which is a shark movie. Now, Brittany loves shark movies. I'm hit or miss. It all depends, but like some of them, like Meg, the Meg was really great. But most shark movies, I'm pretty much met on.
Don't get me wrong. It was still an enjoyable B horror movie.
With a shark in it.
With a shark in it. But the first movie was scary. This movie was, to me, it wasn't scary. It was just funny.
Now, remind me, is this the one where the girls go out and they're scuba diving in this, like, hidden city underneath?
And they don't tell anyone where they're going.
Right, and they have scuba gear, but they're all, like, teenagers, so...
And only, like, 2 of them know how to properly use it. They don't take any proper gear. And they're like, okay, we should turn around now. But then they don't. And then they get trapped in there with a blind shark, who's basically a great white, but blind. And cue insanity.
Right, and it's just... And, I mean, they find other people, and then they die, and then they find the dad, and then...
He dies,
and they're trying to get out, and the girl who's on the rope, she dies, and it's just like, you know...
It was funny.
Yeah, no.
If I had watched it...
It was supposed to be scary, and it was so absurd, it became funny.
If I had watched it on the Sci-Fi Channel, I would 100% be satisfied.
Right, because it'd be like, man, for sci-fi, Like, we saw Ghost Shark on this channel. This is a
Ghost
definite
Shark.
step up from Ghost Shark.
Ghost Shark is hilarious.
It is a step up. It is hilarious because
I will fight
dumb.
you. I will fight you.
It is so dumb.
That movie's great.
You made me watch every single Sharknado movie.
Those movies are hilarious.
Yes. But still, they're so dumb. I also watched Lavalantula.
Tulantula.
Yes. And the only part that's good about that is because Police Academy cast came back.
It was funny. Also, that zombie tidal wave one was pretty funny, too.
Oh my god. Okay.
Anyway, if I had watched it on Sci-Fi, I would have been 100% satisfied. No questions asked. But the fact that I had to go to a theater where, like, actual clothes and not just pajamas.
Right, and people are around.
Other people I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
Then that was a disappointment.
Sometimes being in crowds makes a movie better, but oftentimes we would much rather stay at home.
Scary movies.
We're homebodies.
Scary movies are better when there's a group of people around because there are other people it feeds your scare.
But it has to be scary. You know what should have been on our disappointments list? Crawl.
We just kind of didn't talk about it. Crawl was okay.
It's essentially the same thing, but with a basement that's flooded and a giant Florida alligator.
There's a hurricane. She goes to save her dad, but he's trapped in the house with an alligator.
Right.
A giant alligator.
Yeah, no, it's not just one. There's multiple alligators, all in the city, and they're all just... No, but the reason I don't think that was a disappointment, because we got what we asked for. It was supposed to be ridiculous, and it was.
It wasn't a sequel to something that was really good. 47 Meters Down was really good.
It was dumb, but at least we knew going in, well, this is probably going to be dumb. We thought 47 Meters Down Uncaged was going to live up to the sequel, and it just kind of fell flat.
Because the trailers looked a lot better than it was.
For sure. Okay, so the last one we're going to talk about, since you got to talk about Lion King, I'm going to talk about Dark Phoenix.
Ugh. I don't even have anything to say, so...
Okay, so I'll leave this to me. Preface. Huge X-Men fan. Love the X-Men, love Nightcrawler. I think Days of Future Past, First Class, even Apocalypse was okay. Alright?
I don't like X-Men.
Yeah, and I always drag her to the movies, and she always has shit to say. Right?
They all garbage.
But Dark Phoenix, everyone was saying it sucked, and I'm like, no, you have to hold out for the movie, because I'm sure that, just like Apocalypse, people are going to be talking all sorts of smack, but it's actually going to be a pretty good movie. And I get there, and holy shit, I was so disappointed, because Nightcrawler's back for a second movie, which didn't happen for Alan Cumming, and I'm like, oh, he's going to have some good moments, which... Granted, he did. But the writing was so terrible, they wrote out the Skrulls and they replaced them. They gave Dazzler like a 30-second cameo, and she was by far the best part of the movie. The action sequences, a lot of them felt unnecessary. There's a whole scene where they're trying to cross the street.
That was lame.
And they can't cross the street because Magneto and Dark Beast are just fighting them. Like... Granted, there's some cool action, and I really did enjoy
Nightcrawler's a teleporter. Why didn't you just teleport inside the house?
Because the other mutant had him in a mental lock, okay? But they used, like, plot devices like that to make super powerful X-Men like Storm,
lame,
like, neutered, okay? But, I mean, I like that they integrated Genosha, and one of my biggest beefs of the whole damn thing was that they introduced Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force in Apocalypse. They did it in the movie.
Then they were like, JK.
Yeah. And
we didn't do that.
They completely and totally ignored everything that they built up in Apocalypse, and they're like, by the way, it's been 9 years. We've had 0 character growth. We're going to kill off Mystique as they fridge her. Freaking Mystique. And she's like...
How old are James McAvoy and...
yeah, they're supposed to be in their
what's his name?
50s, maybe?
The other guy.
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be in their 50s, at least, probably the 60s. And they look just phenomenal. Their mutant X genes just keep them so young and fit. Right? But, I mean, Wolverine's not in this one, but honestly, he could not have saved this movie. I don't think anybody could have saved this movie. Just bad writing all around. They ignore canon. They do so much that made me disappointed. And despite a few scenes where Nightcrawler is cool. Also, Quicksilver, arguably one of the funnest...
He got neutered, too.
One of the funnest X-Men characters. He gets sidelined in the first 45 minutes of this 2.5-hour movie. Because he's too powerful.
He would have solved the whole movie twice as fast.
And they can't have somebody so OP, even though Nightcrawler can teleport, but he can't stop time. He can't stop time and move through it in the same way. So if
your name
he still does
wasn't Magneto, Professor X or Jean Grey.
You were useless in this
Nobody
freaking
cared
movie.
about you in this movie.
Beast was fun, don't get
Barely.
me wrong. But Cyclops, wasted again. Storm, wasted again. Nightcrawler, he's used as kind of a gimmick. And his powers are OP too. Like, they push it way past what it should have been. But overall, I was expecting to say, ha ha, losers, I told you it was a good movie. And I couldn't. The whole time, I just couldn't freaking do it. So, of the 5 movies, even though I think Dark Phoenix was the biggest disappointment because I love comic book movies, Brittany, what did we choose?
Lion King.
Lion King.
Not because it was the worst movie on the list.
Because it was an unnecessary remake that did not improve upon anything that could have been improved upon.
It was
which is
arguably
a very short list.
If you'd never seen a movie before and you only watched these 5 movies, it would be the best movie on the list.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But
absolutely.
It was still the biggest disappointment.
For you.
For me.
Me, I enjoyed some of the stuff, but it just... You're right. The faces didn't emote. The music didn't hit in the same way. The musical numbers, especially I Just Can't Wait to Be King and Can You Feel the Love Tonight. Neither of those. Hakuna Matata was pretty cool. And you got to give them props for doing throwbacks to
Billy
the original
Eichner,
song.
He tried.
No, comedy in that, they really tried. But they did a throwback for Beauty and the Beast with Be Our Guest. They tried to do things to kind of...
Seth Rogen, honey, you can't sing.
They tried to make it for a modern audience, and it didn't
Someone should have told Seth Rogen.
It didn't need to be done.
Someone should have told him he can't sing well.
But they win the Burnt Popcorn Award.
Mild burnt.
No. Shit's burnt.
I guess.
Garbage. Okay, so now we're going to go into our honorable mentions. We're going to talk about the 10 movies that should have made a list, but because we either narrowed it down or because
There just wasn't anything super, super special.
Right, so let's just jump into it. First we had Penguins, the Disney nature movie.
We just didn't watch enough documentaries to have a documentary.
Right, but it was funny, and it was kind of for kids, but it was also a drama.
It was very cute, and it had a lot of information, and it was definitely a great documentary, one of the better documentaries.
No, because it focuses on one particular penguin who's a real goofball. Brittany's probably looking up his name.
Steve.
His name is Steve? They named his ass Steve, really?
Do you remember?
No, I don't freaking remember.
His name is Steve.
It happened like in April.
The movie's narrated by Ed Helms.
Yes.
Steve is a very bad penguin.
He's a goofy-ass bird, okay?
He gets lost. Like, first thing, he gets lost.
Yeah, and he's trying to court ladies, and he just keeps fucking up the pebble, like, and the egg, and he is just a mess of a penguin.
You know what? Spoilers, but Steve raises 2 pretty great chicks that make it to adulthood.
Yeah, and even though he's goofy as shit...
They almost die.
He's goofy as shit, and it's full of, like, drama and humor and stuff.
Steve living his best life.
He living his best life, and we gotta give super props to Steve the fucking penguin, because he, come hell or high water, and other such carnivores, he persists.
Seals.
He lives.
They're the devil.
The penguins live. Oh.
Next movie,
Us. Jordan Peele's directorial sophomore movie. He doesn't quite live up to Get Out,
but it was really
good. It was really good and really creepy, and this almost made it into the horror / thriller categories, because I mean, for those who don't know it, Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke, they have 2 kids. And they're just living their suburban lifestyle.
And then clones of them come up to...
But not just like normal clones. Like, they can't speak. They're very guttural and primitive.
Red can speak.
And they are homicidal. And apparently...
Not just their clones.
Right.
Everyone.
And apparently they've been living, like, kind of underground and living off of, like, eating raw rabbit. And there's just...
They're tired of it.
What I loved about this movie is that there's so much different, like... There's visual cues, there's metaphors, there's a lot of... I'm trying to think of the word for it. Motif. There are like 14 different motifs that this
I really liked
works on.
That the movie answered enough that you felt like you got answers, but it left enough stuff to questions rather than trying to write in something lame.
Right. And that was good.
Because that happens in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Horror movies fall into this. They explain too much. And so then...
It takes out... No, like in...
It's not scary anymore.
Like it's not on our list, but in Happy Death Day to You,
They explained
they
much.
explained way too much, and they could have just left it like a mystery, but because they explained so much in it,
It wasn't as good as
it
the
wasn't
first
as
one.
good, right? And so in Us, they kind of strike that balance, and I mean, fire with the little kid, the little girl being a track star, so they get chased. The guy loving his boat, and then ends up getting like stranded out there. Like there's really good.
It was a
parallels.
fantastic movie, and you should see it.
And Jordan Peele is just a phenomenal horror director, and I can't wait to see what else he does, because
The next movie he's got called Antebellum looks fantastic.
yeah, but he doesn't direct it, does he?
Isn't that his movie?
I think he might like be a producer on it or something. No, I think it says Antebellum was from the same producers as Us and Get Out.
Maybe it is.
But I don't think Jordan Peele is directing on it.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it's
but
just from the same
It's from the same team, but it doesn't have Jordan's name on it.
But it looks really good.
It looks really scary.
I know. I just knew he signed on to do a 5-picture horror movie deal with them.
Yeah, I know, and I'll watch every one of them in theaters probably more than once. All right, so the next one. What's the next one?
Captain Marvel.
Now, we already talked about Shazam. This different movie.
It belongs in the MCU.
And it's belonging in the right place.
There was a lot of really good things about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Skrulls. Amazing
the Skrulls
debut
are
for the Skrull.
great.
No, being an MCU fan, having read comic books, like actual Fantastic Four comic books
And
with Skrulls,
The
they
Krill.
nailed it.
The Krill are good too.
Swim away! It's not Krill. What is it?
I don't know. I just kept calling them Krill.
Skrulls.
No, but who are the other people? The Captain
Sam
Marvel.
Jackson.
The other aliens, Robert.
Kree.
Krill.
Kree.
Okay, the Krill.
Kree are blue. Krill are tiny.
You don't know they ain't blue? They in the ocean. They could be blue.
They just blend in because they blue.
Anyway, so I really liked a lot of things about it. The Skrulls were amazing. They did a fantastic job with them. They did some great CGI and makeup work. They do some really good job explaining some questions we've had about where things came from, why Nick Fury only has one eye, etc.
Yeah, we get to see the cat goose, aka the Flurkin.
He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It explains where Captain Marvel has been, why she hasn't been saving everybody this whole time.
Because honestly, a character as powerful as Captain Marvel is
couldn't just be on Earth.
right.
Because
She would have
won the battles. Because
there would have been no Avengers.
We find out in Endgame that the battle they fought in the first Avengers, really, those people were like the worst army ever.
Right. They're really not that impressive, and yet Captain Marvel, because she's off saving other galaxies and universes and
who
stuff,
don't have the Avengers.
like she is the one woman army of everywhere. Like she is the savior of
a lot of the rest of the
of
galaxy,
the Marvel universe,
except for the Guardians.
right. And even them, like they're not as widespread as
I
she
really
is.
liked that she didn't have any romance at all. Like there was kind of a thing going on.
Even if they tried to push what she had with Jude Law,
but it wasn't.
quickly no, because see that mentorship, like they could have easily like tried to push that mentorship
And been like,
into
oh,
romance,
but they didn't.
F
And
that.
I love that.
and they leave it ambiguous enough so that if she was bisexual or something and she had something going with Monica Rambeau,
We could find out
or no,
later.
not Monica, that's the daughter.
I don't remember her name.
I forget the mother, Maria, I think.
What do you think? Why do you think? I think it just fell a little flat because... Not because it wasn't good. It was good. It was just we had so many epic movies. If we had seen that movie 8 years ago...
Or even 5 years ago.
We would have been like, oh my gosh.
No, if we saw it at the same time as like Ant-Man
We'd
or
have been
Doctor
like, this
Strange.
movie's amazing.
Right, but now that MCU has impressed us so much, Captain Marvel is just middle ground, right? It's a good movie.
But
It
if it
hits
had,
all the beats.
if it had come out at around the same time as Iron Man, we would have been like, this movie's amazing.
No, and I love all the 90s references and the music. I love the soundtrack. I love the fashion
I
that they
love
used.
how well aged down Sam Jackson looks.
Oh hell yeah, and Sam and Coulson. I love that they
sweetie.
reference things like Blockbuster and
It's funny.
dial-up internet, and I mean all these things that are throwbacks. Captain Marvel. Good movie.
You should see it.
It deserves to be on the superhero list any other year. But this year, there was too many. Okay, the next one was a movie that I wanted on honorable mentions, and it was Yesterday. Basic premise, hopeless songwriter, living in England. He decides to give up on music, and then the entire world has a blackout. And as the blackout happens, he gets hit by a bus, right? And he wakes up, and everything seems normal.
Was it a bus or a car?
I think it might have been a car.
It don't matter.
Okay, but anyway, he wakes up, and everyone is seemingly normal until he realizes that certain aspects of pop culture and like lifestyle doesn't exist anymore. So Coca-Cola doesn't exist, only Pepsi.
And most notably, the Beatles don't exist.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't exist, but the Beatles specifically. And this guy is a British musician. His bread, butter, and side of carrots is Beatles. So instead of them going into obscurity, he searches online, and there's no reference to the Beatles. So he's like, fuck it, I am the Beatles now. And he starts rewriting from memory all of the Beatles songs and playing them. He sells them, and he becomes famous, heartthrob, because Beatles music belongs in the world.
And then he's torn
because he wants to say, look, fame is weighing on me. The music's out there.
He's trying to get with this girl that
I don't
he's
want
been
to
in
take
love
credit
with.
for it. Yeah, it's a romance at its core, right? He wants to be with this girl.
But he can't be with her if he's famous.
Right. There's kind of like choose me or the fame, and he's always wanted to be famous, but the girl's always been there, and it's never really happened. Right? So the movie is great because it incorporates Beatles music, but in a totally fluid way. It makes sense why it's in there.
Yeah, it did.
And
a lot like Rocket Man.
Yeah,
not quite the same but in a good way.
Right.
Like,
but I also love that old John Lennon makes an appearance, and that's really nice to see that he survives.
Question. Congrats to Taron Egerton on his Golden Globe Award win.
Oh, very, very much so.
He deserved it. But anyway, I digress.
The next one on the list is Booksmart. Brittany didn't really like Booksmart all that much.
It wasn't bad.
Me, I liked it a lot.
It was really tropey.
It's like a female Superbad, and I just found this out from the Golden Globe stuff. Apparently, she's Jonah Hill's little sister, the person who starred in Booksmart, and
one of the stars, the co-star.
Yeah, I see not only the resemblance, but like the talent there. Right? They're
both very familiar.
The beats are so similar. It's about two friends who are straight A students, and they're really uptight.
They realize that they got into these great schools, but so did everyone else they know who partied, and they're like, what the hell? So they're like, we're gonna have one last party, and because
clearly partying doesn't matter. You're still into Harvard or Yale or Princeton or wherever.
Which I find called shenanigans, because there's no way.
But not in that big of a town. Let's be real.
This would have to be the richest, best school in the country for them to all get into Ivy Leagues.
Everyone.
Or at least prestigious.
Yeah, dumbasses are getting into
Yale and Brown and Princeton and Harvard, and I'm like...
It's like, oh, I'm sorry I'm not as smart as you. I'm only going to Notre Dame. Like, are you shitting me? All these people are going into good colleges, so that's what we call shenanigans on. But Booksmart, they say we're going to go to parties, so they end up accidentally doing drugs.
They're each struggling with a little bit of lies that they haven't been telling the other one.
Right.
And it unfolds from there.
I also like that one of the female characters is lesbian, which means that it's not just like...
But she's open. It's not like a closet.
Like they're all chasing a boy. Like, no, she's chasing a girl.
And they have some really honest
really
LGBTQ scenes.
And I believe Olivia Wilde directed.
She was in it, too. Wasn't she?
Might have been.
I thought she had a cameo, but I could be wrong.
She might have had a cameo. But she directed, and it was her directorial debut, and it was really, really good. Jason Sudeikis is in it as a teacher, and he also drives an Uber because teachers are underpaid.
Teachers are poor.
Teachers are poor. Shout out to all my poor teachers out there. And they have a lot of fun with a lot of different people.
And there was definitely some fun moments, but
oh yeah,
for me it just fell a little flat. It wasn't like, I don't know, comedies have to be real freaking funny for me to be like, I love it. The next movie is Jumanji.
It belongs
Into the Jungle.
It deserves to be in one of the categories, for real.
It was an amazing movie. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
Action, adventure.
we put it in 3 or 4 other categories, and we just were like, well, it doesn't, like, it couldn't win any individual category.
But it deserves its own category.
But it deserves its own category. It was fantastic.
For funny sci-fi action.
The Rock and
romance.
Kevin Hart, so funny.
No,
Jack Black.
They have such acting range. Jack Black, Kevin Hart playing Danny Glover, I'm sorry, and playing Danny DeVito, The Rock playing Danny DeVito, and Awkwafina playing Danny DeVito. So funny. It is just like hilarious how many...
Huh?
What?
Huh. I'm a different skin tone.
You're a different everything. I've never had this many muscles, right? No, and it's just so funny because they're still playing Jumanji. It's still a game, but now it's 2 senile old men that don't even understand how video games work.
And Karen Gillan is also fantastic.
Oh, no, she's phenomenal, but it's sad when someone as talented as Karen Gillan
she does an amazing job, and she's incredibly talented. In Endgame, she was amazing. In this, she was no less amazing.
Right, but it's sad because she's sidelined
a little bit
by the amazing talent of her 3 co-stars. And that's not even including Nick Jonas and the horse.
The horse? That was funny.
Look at my horse. My horse is amazing.
Give it a lick. It tastes just like raisins.
So the next movie on our list was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Why did this not make it into the horror?
Because we put it in the kids category.
No, we
didn't we?
No.
I don't know what we had a reason.
I think what it was is that the scary stories, the little clippets, like the little snippets, were super scary and like creepy.
And it was super creepy, and it was uncomfortable, but in the best way.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks like the pictures from the book, and if you had the book, which I bought it, or Brittany bought it for me. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
She bought it for me leading up to the movie. And those pictures of the characters are pretty...
The stories in them
spot on.
Are scary, but the pictures in the book are scarier than any story you could ever tell.
Right.
Whoever drew those was crazy.
Right. But so they tried to recreate it in the movie, and they did a pretty good job. They matched it beat for beat.
And I really like how they put the stories together.
Right.
Those were fantastic.
But I think it's because the intermediate story of all the characters and how they interact with one another...
Was just not that interesting.
It just wasn't that good.
And the trope at the end, the ending was very tropey.
Oh yeah, it was cliche. Sure.
Clearly we watch a lot of movies, so tropes and cliches are just... I mean, sometimes they work and that's okay.
I feel like sometimes it's like CinemaSins and we're just watching it and like, no, that's wrong. No.
I'm really bad
ding.
About being like, okay, I know what's going to happen, and then I blurt it out.
And then she ruins the whole movie. But honestly, if it's that
predictable,
obvious,
I don't know.
Someone else is going to get it, but Brittany always gets it before me because she's smart. I'm dumb.
So
she pretty. I'm stupid.
The next movie was one of Robert's personal favorites.
I thought this belonged on the animated category.
There was a lot of good animation this year.
Right, and they were all ended up being
And
sequels.
Missing Link won Golden Globe.
I know.
What the hell?
No, with all the different characters, and I said in the last podcast, I'm not saying Missing Link was a bad one.
We didn't see it.
It just didn't make our list of movies to watch because we were like,
it looked funny, but we just couldn't make time for it.
Right, Hugh Jackman, whatever. I love him, but voice acting, I'd rather see me in person. Okay, but anyway, the one that I have on the honorable mentions is Abominable, and it's about a young Asian girl.
Her father died.
Yeah, and left her his violin. And she doesn't play anymore, and she's spending all her time making money on the side, doing odd jobs, so that she can travel the world like she was going to do with her dad. She was going to go on a world trip, and she couldn't, and it's really sad.
If you see this movie, bring tissues, because it's incredibly moving and incredibly sad.
There is funny parts, and
it's hilarious.
It's really good stuff, but anyway, there's an abominable snowman, or Yeti, who breaks out of a government facility and hides on her rooftop, and... She's
trying to take him home.
She tries to take him back home to
Mount Everest.
And she gets
stuck with her 2 cousins.
Yeah. Her little cousin, who loves basketball, he's kind of chubby. And her older cousins, who's kind of stuck in social media and loves the girls. But they're trying to return this Yeti. And it turns out that it's a baby. But it has magical powers, and it can make things grow. And it can,
move
when it hums things, happen. All right? And
there's these beautiful scenes where she plays her violin.
No, it is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous music, gorgeous animation. Why this didn't make more lists for best?
They put it out in the wrong year.
They really did. There was just too much competition. But still, Missing Link won. What the fuck? Like, with everything that came out, Missing Link won.
Didn't we see another Yeti movie earlier this
year?
Smallfoot.
But I think that was at the very end of 2018.
Last year. That movie was really good, too.
Yeah, Smallfoot was fun. But, no, Abominable, and, like, the government is trying to track them down to recapture it because there's a crazy old coot who's like, I want to have it, right?
Yeah,
it's just
he has all these collections. This whooping snake.
Whoop! Whoop!
That snake was hilarious.
Right. Oh, sorry, the dogs like that whoop a little too much. But it was just a phenomenal thing, and I highly recommend it, even though there was a ton of good animated stuff this year. That is definitely one to watch. Alright, so next one is The Dead Don't Die, and that was an indie film starring Adam Driver.
We drove specifically out of our way.
Yes, we went to Indianapolis, which is like an hour away, to see it in a fancy theater.
Not just the closest side, the far side.
The far side of Indy. So it was like, what, an hour and a half, maybe?
Hour 20.
Right. But we wanted to make sure we saw this movie because we want to support indie films, and because Bill Murray and Adam Driver are starring in a...
And there was a lot of people in it.
It is a dark comedy, a dry, dark comedy about zombies in a small town.
The reason this movie didn't make any of our lists is because the ending...
was goofy as fuck.
Was kind of garbage. The whole movie is amazing.
No, and there's a lot of running gags. Like, there's a song called The Dead Don't Die that they wrote for the movie.
And they play
it over and over
time.
And over again. And
Bill Murray's character hates it.
No, and they point out, oh, why are we playing this? This is the theme song. What are you talking about? To the movie. Like, it is so meta. They break the fourth wall.
Especially Adam Driver's
Adam
character.
Driver is as Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, he does a really good job. But in this... Now, we haven't seen Marriage Story, so I don't know how that is.
We'll probably put that on a future podcast.
But I think that this performance
was really good.
Was better and funnier for him than any of the others.
He got some chance to, like, actually...
Shine.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, stars.
Tilda Swinton's in it. She plays this really eccentric mortician.
Who's the old man?
Oh, the one that lives in the woods?
The one that lives in the woods. He says, fuck you.
Tom Waits.
Yeah, he says, oh, fuck you.
Hermit Bob is his name.
Hermit Bob. Oh, God.
Iggy Pop has a little cameo.
Oh, yeah. No, and
Steve Buscemi's a really racist farmer.
Oh, yeah, he's out in the middle of... He's in the boonies.
He's a terrible person.
But it's funny.
Danny Glover's also in that movie.
But
like, Carol Kane. There were so many stars, like...
See, you can tell we Googled this one. But the idea of
Selena Gomez and some young people have a little side story.
The idea of it is that it's a zombie movie, but it's a comedy, and it's very, very self-aware. But I agree. What kept it off of lists was the dumb, bogus
I really didn't like the end.
But we didn't like the end of The Voices either with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
really,
we love that movie.
Really great, fun movie. Last 5 minutes of it just killed what we liked about it.
The whole time Adam Driver's like, this isn't going to end well. And then he's like, well, why isn't it going to end well? And at the end of the movie, he's like, well, I read the script. And Bill Murray's character's like, he didn't let me read the script.
Yeah, he says, I'm just going off a book. And they talk like openly about the director not letting them in on it. And he's like, oh yeah, that's terrible.
And it just got a little bit too meta.
Right?
Yeah, it got real weird.
It got real weird, but it's still a really fun movie.
And we probably just didn't get it.
That is, I mean, it's worth watching, but it is kind of a goofy-ass movie. Okay, the last one on the list of honorable mentions is Charlie's Angels, which we just watched this last month. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I mean, you guys know what Charlie's Angels is. It's got some new stars. It's got Naomi Scott, Kristen Stewart,
and a newcomer. Essentially, Elizabeth Banks is Bosley, and she has
a Bosley.
One of many Bosley.
Her name is Ella Balinska.
Yeah, and she plays one of the angels. And
the Bosley gets killed.
No, there's an AI or something.
Naomi Scott has invented her character.
She's super smart.
Yeah, she invented this technology that basically means they can run Wi-Fi off of electricity.
Right.
But
it's wireless energy.
There's a bug in it that can basically be used to kill people.
Right.
And
it can't be traced.
She brings it to the angels to
not to fix it, but to keep it away, keep it out of the hands of people who shouldn't have it.
And Professor X has retired.
Yeah.
I literally
original Bosley. Patrick Stewart. Very good. I was just gonna let you keep saying Professor X.
He's retired, and Elizabeth Banks has replaced him. And the main Bosley that they are initially talking to gets killed.
Right. And so there's a plot.
They realize quite quickly that there's a mole in the organization. So they're told by Elizabeth Banks' character, don't tell anyone anything.
Right.
And basically
shush.
they're trying to get the AI equipment back. And they go through a series of hijinks and cool outfit changes. And it was really good. And I know a lot of people hated on it, but I really liked it. I don't really care what people think.
Yeah, I mean, F the haters. It was still good. And even though everyone's, like Elizabeth Banks went on Twitter and she was like, y'all just don't understand cinema. Y'all don't like female leads. And
she's not wrong.
But people pointed out, like, Captain Marvel was a thing. People loved Wonder Woman. It's just this particular movie didn't hit.
Yes, but think about how many men were in Wonder Woman.
That's true. But still, Gal Gadot, she's
amazing. I just really want more of the women to be in it.
All right, speaking of women who are great, let's talk about some of the performers this year that just kind of killed it. Now, we're trying to keep it specifically to movies.
Movies that we saw. Yeah, there are lots of actresses doing awesome things.
Both on film and in television.
But these are specifically actresses that were in some of the movies we talked about.
Right. Naomi Scott, for one, from Charlie's Angels.
She did a great job in Charlie's Angels. She did a great job in Aladdin. She was a fantastic Jasmine.
Yeah, and she was also in Power Rangers a couple years back, and that's kind of where she made her debut. No, it's true, and she was an unknown, and now she's starring in huge Disney films and flops by Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing really good things from her.
Yeah, no, she seems like the type who is going to be very flexible in the types of roles she plays. And
I'm excited.
And it's nice to have women of color actually
and it's nice to see her do some action stuff and kick butt. That's really nice.
But also singing and also
she's talented.
All right, we also had we just talked about her, Karen Gillan from Jumanji and from Endgame.
Karen Gillan as
Nebula.
I forgot her name for a second. I was like, that blue lady. Nebula's character is so layered and fantastic.
No, the most underrated person in the MCU, probably. Underrated.
She does an incredible job playing her.
The fact that most of her is covered up, a lot of people don't realize that it's her.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was the same girl as Jumanji when we saw the first Jumanji.
Right, but she is just a great character actor, and she brings life into
Jumanji, my bad.
No, but she brings life into it, even though she's supposed to be this robotic.
She's beautiful, alien. But she doesn't
she's goofy too.
She's also goofy, and she doesn't that's not what you remember about her. You remember her being amazing as an actress, which is important. I think we should be seen for our talents, not the way we look.
Right, but the fact that she plays both beautiful bombshell in Jumanji and this tortured warrior in Endgame, it kind of shows the duality. You don't have to be an archetype. You can do anything you want.
And I look forward to more things from her. So the next lady on the list we have is Florence Pugh,
who you call Pug.
Her last name is spelled like Pug.
Pug. But even though we didn't see all the movies, she was in quite a few this year. She was in Little Women. Which
we might still see, maybe.
Maybe not. But it's not something that we're She was in Midsummer, which was a great...
she did a great job, even though you didn't like it.
I didn't like it, but she
does a fantastic job. She's dealing with grief. She's dealing with all kinds of...
And even though it's technically not out yet, it's not going to be out for another little bit. She's playing Yelena in the new Black Widow movie in 2020.
She was also in Fighting With My Family.
Yes, and we saw that in February.
And she, it was such a different role than the other role we saw her in.
Right, so you kind of see her
she's
fit.
Been in other things, but that's just what we...
Kind of like Karen Gillan, but less action-y.
So far.
She plays more dramatic roles from what we can tell.
It looks like according to her IMDb page, she's played some action movies, just not stuff we've seen.
Right, but Black Widow might change that. Black Widow might kind of put her up in action stardom. Maybe. It all depends on what the MCU wants to do with her if they don't kill her off. Next is Brie Larson, also superheroes.
She did a lot of things this year. Yeah, we just didn't see them.
Even though everybody's like, oh, Captain Marvel. She she directed and starred in her own film on Netflix called Unicorn Store.
Which looks great. We still might watch that.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that it was like...
We just didn't get around to it.
Honestly, because Brittany and I both kind of transitioned into new roles in our work.
We were busy.
We were busy, and we just didn't get around to it. But it looks phenomenal.
Brie Larson has been in other things. And I mean, that didn't come out this year, to be fair.
It didn't?
It came out in 2017.
Then how the hell are we... What?
I don't know. We were behind.
Oh, must have been really behind.
So maybe it's just now on Netflix.
Maybe.
But anyway, she also is in a movie called Just Mercy, which even though technically came out in 2019, in our town it hasn't come out. It comes out this week.
Right, but it had limited release in 2019, so that shit counts.
So she's been in other things, but definitely Captain Marvel was definitely a breakout role for her. Like, she's been in a lot of other things, but you just don't remember her. Like, she was in movies like 13 Going on 30 and Kong Skull Island.
And she won an Oscar for The Room. Like she killed it this year, but it looks as though she's been killing it for a little while, and we just kind of wanted to point her out because as Captain Marvel, she's going to be the new face of the MCU.
I don't care what men say. She's fantastic, and they should shove it.
Girl power. Screw it. All right. And then next we have Tiffany Haddish. And
God.
if there is not a complete
funny.
180 from Brie Larson, that's freaking Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish puts out so many good things. We're about to go see a new movie of hers called
No.
Like a Boss.
Like a Boss, right? But
I don't really think she put out... I guess she did put out one movie. It's called The Kitchen. She put out The Kitchen this year.
And that was dramatic. And
she did an
really
amazing job. She played a woman
She also was in Night School.
Yeah, that wasn't this year.
But anyway,
but she also had a couple comedy things going on. She was in the Angry Birds movie. Wasn't she in the Lego movie? She was in the Lego movie. The new one, Lego movie 2.
Whatever You Want, or what is it called?
But girl's funny, and she's relatable, and she's honestly herself.
She's loud and outspoken, and I feel like she speaks to people in a way that is not watered down. Like, a lot of people can see her and be like, oh, see, if I had no filter and could get away with it, I would totally say those things.
Right.
But I can't, so she's my voice.
So I look forward to seeing... And she was also in Secret Life of Pets 2.
Right, so she did a lot of voice work this year.
She was like,
She did voice work, but she specifically did The Kitchen, and that was a dramatic role.
Is Queen whatever wanna be.
Whatever I want to be.
Basically, whatever wanna be.
See, I do it. It was something like that. Okay, and finally we had Tessa Thompson. Again, sure, she was in Marvel movies, right? She was
in Thor Ragnarok.
She did Thor Ragnarok, but that was last year. Miss, you blend all the things together.
But specifically, she was in an
no,
MCU
it was in
movie.
2017, actually.
Yeah, she was in Endgame.
She was in Endgame.
And she does a great job.
But she also did Men in Black International with her co-star from Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
And she does a great job. She could have led that movie by herself. She didn't need Chris Hemsworth.
Doesn't she also do voice work as well this year?
Oh, Lady and the Tramp. That's the word.
Lady and the Tramp.
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, because I knew she did voice work. Yeah, she voiced Lady and Lady and the Tramp.
She was also in Between Two Ferns, but
no one remembers that movie because, like I said,
it wasn't great.
Disappointing. Okay, so now that we've gone through the females that were notable this year, we're going to go through a few of the males. First, Tom Holland.
He my boo.
He Spider-Man. He was also in Spies in Disguise. No, he actually had two roles. He had a minor role in Endgame and a much, much larger, one might say, starring role in Spider-Man. Almost, right? Jake Gyllenhaal did a pretty good job.
I guess.
He did good.
And you know what I'm really proud of Tom Holland for? He didn't spoil any of those movies.
I know, granted, he had a handler who always had to put their hand over their mouth every time.
You mean Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal looked like he wanted to get
Mark
out
Ruffalo had to as well. So did Cumberbatch.
He looked like he wanted to get out of that press tour so bad. He was like, this boy, I'm gonna hurt this boy.
Which is from Spies in Disguise, which is still in theaters in some places.
Don't make me hurt this boy.
Okay.
Will Smith is phenomenal.
And also even though he filmed...
he's also going to be in Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, yeah, and that comes out in just a couple of weeks.
And Onward. He's got... we put him on this list not just because of what he did this year, but because he has a half a dozen projects
And
coming out
he put Spider-Man back in the MCU. He deserves an award.
while he was drunk.
He deserves an award for doing that. Straight up.
But yes, he has half a dozen projects coming out this year. And
Right. What's the one of the book that you read? That was
Chaos Walking.
Chaos Walking was supposed to come out this last year, but got delayed because of the whole Fox
Because it wasn't
merger.
good.
Yeah, they had to rework a few things.
I hope it's good.
All right. Also, who was in Spider-Man was Samuel L. Jackson. Now, Samuel L. Jackson not only was in and at the end of Endgame, but
How that man be doing so many
he was
movies?
in Captain Marvel, and he was in Spider-Man.
He also had his own movie, Shaft,
Yeah,
which I kind of wish we'd seen, but
but we haven't seen any of the other Shafts, and it would have felt like, I don't know, like we were missing something without having seen the
Maybe.
others, I guess.
he was in Glass.
Yeah, and the Glass was on our superhero list of it was on the short list that didn't quite make the cut. But we did like Glass, and we liked the two movies that came before it, Split and Unbreakable. But
Samuel L. Jackson's awesome.
he does great character work, and I think he might have done some voice stuff too.
Probably.
I know Incredibles 2 was in 2018. But yeah. But speaking of Glass, let's talk about James McAvoy. See how all these kind of like interlock. Granted, most of the things that James McAvoy was in, you weren't a huge fan of, but
He's a great actor.
he capped off Professor X in the four movies.
That's not true. He was in It too.
Yeah, no, he was in It too, and he was in Glass, and those were three movies that, I mean, granted, Dark Phoenix wasn't really that good, but it was part of the franchise.
He did what he could do.
But it was part of a franchise that I liked overall.
Also, I know this was technically 2018, but he's really funny in Sherlock Gnomes.
Oh my God, you're bringing up why?
But he's a great actor. He has a wide range and he does
in
phenomenal.
Split alone, that dude shows such range, and then throw in his stuff with Professor X and then at the very end with
he really does lead It Chapter 2.
Yeah,
and he does a fantastic job
for sure. Okay, next we have Chris Evans.
He my boo.
He's Captain America, and that's end of statement.
He's my favorite boo.
No, she is absolutely obsessed with Chris Evans. She has a Captain America seat cover, Captain America socks on right now, literally.
Oh, I do.
Yes, you do. And he has a cute puppy, and he's so sweet. But not only is he Captain America, and he had an amazing send-off, but he was also in Knives Out, which was a freaking great movie. Like Knives Out actually won our thrillers category.
It's fantastic.
And he plays a pivotal role in the movie.
He does an amazing job. Completely different character from Steve Rogers.
Such an a-hole. And so is the guy from Knives Out.
If you talk about Steve Rogers one more time, I'm going to cut you.
With Knives Out?
It'll be something.
Okay. But yeah, Chris Evans, he's a gem. And I mean,
look forward to everything he has to do.
Even though he's not on this list, shout out to Robert Downey Jr. for playing like Iron Man to a T.
He's going to have it better next year.
And Chris Hemsworth, who even though didn't make this list, played an amazing Fat Thor and was in
the three of them
Men in Black.
together battling Thanos
that,
is just...
that Trinity, I'm sorry, DC fans, but the MCU Trinity... so much greater than the DCEU Trinity. I'm just saying.
Steve Rogers could come back and do more movies. I'm just saying.
It's true. They did leave that door just slightly cracked.
Just a little bit.
All right, just a couple more on this list, and then we'll get into our worst and the very, very best. So, Taika Waititi. We always say it wrong, but it's always the same guy, and he is not only an acting and comedy genius, but he directs a ton of stuff.
He's great.
Yeah, he's... he was like Meek in Thor Ragnarok. No, he was not Meek. He was Korg. He was Korg, and he played Hitler in Jojo Rabbit, which is a really weird thing to say. But I mean, he plays a hilarious Hitler, and I'm going to hell for that statement. I mean,
he's funny though.
But
he deserves it.
Use your Google machine because I know Taika Waititi has done a lot this year, and mostly it's minor stuff, things like cameos and voice work and things like that.
Well, he's also been working on a lot of stuff. He's working on Thor,
yes.
Love and Thunder. He's worked on Free Guy, which will come out soon.
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds.
He was working on the Suicide Squad.
The
Not Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
Suicide
And it's going to be directed by James Gunn, who he worked directly with in the Guardians movies.
And he worked with Endgame and Jojo Rabbit, like you said. And I'm sure he's got half a dozen other projects that he's working on.
Right, but he's...
And didn't he direct an episode of The Mandalorian? And he's the
No,
robot.
He has been working on The Mandalorian, and he is the robot. So even though that's not technically a movie, but it is such a wonderful way to see him kind of... His tentacles are everywhere.
His name came up a few years ago when he did Ragnarok, and I really think that he is going to be doing even more great things, and I look forward to seeing everything he does in the future.
Yeah, I'm a fan. And then lastly on the list we have the one and only Keanu Reeves,
who was in 3 movies on our list, and our nominees list.
Yes.
He was in Toy Story 4 as Duke Kaboom.
I'm Duke Kaboom.
He was hilarious. Great character. He was in Always Be My Maybe as a characterized version of himself.
Yes, so
which is so funny.
Right, it's like, what if Keanu Reeves was a total dick, but like in a funny way, and Keanu Reeves is in on the joke.
And it was like super sexualized and it was really funny. And then he was also in John Wick as the John Wick 3
as John Wick.
As John Wick.
I
was gonna say the leading character.
I threw you off.
Jerk. And he's going to be in a 4th John Wick, and he
also going to be in the 4th Matrix. Also, they redid they put it out in theaters, the Matrix 20th anniversary.
And we went and saw that.
And we saw that in theaters too. We saw that shit in IMAX. Or Dolby.
We couldn't make time for the missing link, but we made time to see the Matrix
in the big screen because
it was pretty good.
Like,
and I discovered that I remembered I don't actually like the Matrix.
But I am a huge fan.
It's fine. It's not a bad movie. It gets so convoluted, especially later on in the sequels. And I remembered why I don't particularly like watching it.
Yeah, well, I don't watch the sequels generally. I just watch Keanu.
He's amazing in the fact that, and he also made big news because he has an age-appropriate girlfriend.
What? Since when? I know.
For a while.
I know. But also, he has Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure coming out.
Which is exciting.
He has Matrix coming out.
We'll probably do.
And he has John Wick coming out.
You know,
in 2022. All 3 of them.
We should probably do a Bill and Ted...
a-thon,
because we've never seen any. I've never seen any.
I haven't either.
We could do a podcast. Look forward to that in the future.
Maybe just Keanu Reeves weekend where we watch like Speed and.
I've never seen Speed.
Really?
Yeah,
it's better than Speed 2, I hear. I've only seen the first one.
If that's something like you guys would be interested in, let us know.
I think the second one's like they're on a boat or something. I don't know.
That's not as exciting.
But they're on a bus in the first one. I
know what happens.
It's a hoot,
I've just never seen it.
And it co-stars Sandra Bullock.
Anyway, so those were our just actors and actresses that stood out to us this year. Not necessarily our favorite of all time, though some of them are. But they're actors and actresses that had good years that we felt did something notable enough to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. So there are just a couple of movies that we want to point out that we did not go and see.
They looked so
bad that we could not bring ourselves to go to the theater for it. And then
with a couple of them.
And then we'll go into our absolute favorites. So the first one on the list is Hellboy.
Poor David Harbour.
I know, because he's such a good actor.
He probably did the best he could.
Oh no, and I'm sure that as a character he did pretty good.
We're not going to spend too much time on these. We didn't see them. We can't bash them. We just judge what we saw in the trailer.
No, I'm just going to say that I liked the Guillermo del Toro version of Hellboy. I loved Abe Sapien in that. And I loved
Ron
Perlman. See, I knew it was there, but
I didn't even have to Google it.
I loved Perlman's Hellboy, and while David Harbour, I had no doubt that he would do a great job. After seeing the first trailer, I was like, and then we saw the first reviews roll in, and how bad and convoluted it was.
Look, we
just needed to skip it.
We try not to listen to reviews. We judge movies based on what we feel. There have been movies that we loved that reviewers were like, this is garbage.
Right. And I should have skipped Dark Phoenix based on the reviews that were out.
But you didn't.
But because I love the X-Men, I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. But good lord. Boy, was
I'm
I
sure there was
disappointed.
movies on a list that we listed as great movies that people were like,
They absolutely hated it.
these suck.
And I'm sure that there's some movies that they love that we're like, nope. All right, the next one is Arctic Dogs, and this just came out a little while ago.
With Jeremy Renner.
And
I love Jeremy Renner.
Brittany wanted to go to it, and I flat refused.
Vetoed.
I flat freaking refused to go to Arctic Dogs because it looks like every other B and C list animated.
It kind of looked like rip-off Balto.
It looked like extra rip-off Balto, and you sprinkle in some like over the hedge. But yeah, Arctic Dogs. It just seemed like a money grab, and they didn't grab much money. So
They had a lot of stars,
Good job.
and whenever a movie tries too hard to push their celebrities, it's probably not going to be that great.
yeah, probably not. The last one on our list is Cats. Terrifying.
They were live action.
Yeah, no, okay. Star-studded cast, a beloved Broadway musical. The pieces were in place for it to actually make money and do well. The problem is that no one liked it on Broadway, and anybody who did is a liar, because I saw it on home VHS, and it sucked. Only thing I remember is Tum Tum Tugger was a curious cat. That's all I remember.
Don't be offending people. I'm sure people like it.
No, but only thing I remember about that was one song about this over-sexualized Rum Tum Tugger, and I was like 8 when I saw it, and it was really, really scarring.
You weren't mature enough.
Okay.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea.
Right. But,
Also, can we just say that how crappy it is that they didn't finish the movie
Oh,
before
yeah.
they put it out?
Right, and then they had to put out a modified one that had finished graphics.
How
and
you
visuals.
really gonna spend all this money on a movie and not finish it?
It lost so much money in the box office. But the thing is,
Maybe they should have finished
the
it
thing is
first.
they had an all-star cast, right? They pulled out all the stops on the cast.
I really hate when they are like, let's get all these stars. I don't mind all the time, and sometimes they're still good movies. But, like, if you have to push that hard and hire that many famous people, like, yes, Marvel has a lot of famous people. But when they started at Marvel, they weren't all that famous.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were, don't get me wrong, and some of them were mild famous. But they are famous because...
Right, Dave Bautista...
He was a wrestler, and I'm sure the wrestling people, like, a wrestling crowd knew who he was.
Right, there wasn't a fan base for it.
I'm sure if you listen to the podcast, we watch wrestling, you knew who he was.
Right, but oh well. But anyway, back to Cats, right? They made it, and no one was asking for it, and the graphics were terrifying. And I saw
they were too busy.
I saw a 30-second clip of cockroaches, and Rebel Wilson
eats them.
No, she takes off her skin and shows her skin underneath wearing a leotard.
Why didn't she just put an outfit on?
It's like...
It was weird.
And it's scarring. Like, I didn't even see the whole movie, but that little clip was absolutely...
They put faces on the roaches.
And Taylor Swift is in it, and Brittany loathes Taylor Swift.
Sure, she's a perfectly nice person, I guess.
I actually enjoy her music, but Brittany can't
garbage.
effing stand her. So, because Taylor Swift's in it, F it. That's the worst one that we didn't see. Absolutely the worst one we did not see.
They were too busy wondering if they could. They didn't think about if they should.
Yes. Also, Jeff Goldblum. Ha!
He should have been on our list. He did a great job this year.
But he didn't. He wasn't in a lot of movies.
He didn't do a whole lot of movies.
He didn't do movies.
Not that we watched.
He just said, what happened?
This is the first
This
I've
is
heard
the first
of
time
it.
I've heard of it. Okay, so the overall best movie of 2019 in these categories.
We'll just read the nominees.
The nominees.
So, our first nominee is Avengers Endgame.
From the superhero category, yes.
Our second nominee is Jexy.
From comedy.
Our third nominee is Annabelle Comes Home. Our fourth nominee is Knives Out. Our fifth nominee is Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have The Farewell.
The foreign film.
Godzilla.
The also foreign film.
Aladdin.
The also foreign film.
Frozen 2.
Well, technically.
Yeah, they're from Norway.
Okay.
And In the Tall Grass.
American. Okay.
We loved all of these movies. We thought they were all great.
All right. let's narrow it down. Which ones don't make the cut?
Why don't we just talk about our top three? Weren't these three our top three?
Yeah, I think so.
So our top three were Endgame, Frozen 2, and Knives Out.
Well,
What?
Do you want to go 3, 2, 1?
Sure.
Okay, so number 3 out of these was Knives Out.
We loved it. Fantastic. Nothing, like, there's nothing wrong with the
I
movie.
normally don't like murder mysteries. I
love
saw Murder on the Orient Express. I've seen a few murders. You've
seen some murders?
Not yet.
You didn't tell me. I want to see.
But Knives Out, it kind of flipped murder mysteries on its head, and it was original, and Rian Johnson does a great job directing it. The cast does not fail at all.
They're fantastic.
The writing was there. The tone was correct.
It wasn't too out there. Like, it wasn't too astronomical, ridiculous.
Also, we're a donut inside of another donut. That line is just like fucking stupid, but hilarious.
Where can I buy that cream sweater? It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And the man wearing it with so delicious.
Does he come with the cream sweater?
He might. The second
Oh, my God.
movie.
Okay, so...
And the runner-up.
This was a really hard choice. We loved both of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
But we just felt that one of them was just slightly better. So our second one runner-up is Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Because...
Samantha?
Samantha. It had amazing cast, amazing music. Like, the songs were phenomenal.
Yeah, no, she will not stop fucking singing these songs.
They're great.
In the radio.
If you haven't
in the shower,
seen it,
in her sleep.
Go see it. And it also is the highest grossing animated film of all time.
Yes,
so
not just the year.
It definitely deserves number 2. But the next movie on our list is the highest grossing film ever.
And that's Avengers Endgame.
In case you weren't paying attention, it is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
You ruined my segue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here.
Bitch ass.
Well, we'll rewind it.
But Endgame was an event of a lifetime. If we ever see something like that again in our lifetime,
we'll be blessed.
Yeah.
It was the entire gathering of a universe that was built from
the ground up.
They made a single, or I guess they made 2 films because they made Hulk 2.
But made
Iron Man set the stage.
They made a movie knowing that if it didn't do well,
they were gone.
They were going to go out of business.
Tank. Yeah.
And that risk and that amazing movie paid off in so many billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like
it was a risk, sure, because Iron Man could have flopped, right? At least the Incredible Hulk had another movie before it and a TV show, and so they knew that people at least responded well, right? Iron Man had nothing.
I had no idea who Iron Man was.
Right. And then they made Iron Man 2 before they ever made Thor and Captain America, and those were risks too, right? One is a period piece, one is kind of a mythological thing.
And then they made a little movie called Guardians of the Galaxy, which was incredible.
Well, not before they made Avengers.
I know, but
Avengers brought them all together, and that was a big risk.
I'm just saying that they've taken so many risks over the years, and Jon Favreau, we didn't talk about him because he acts, he does, but he mostly is just
At least now he's directing because he did Jungle Book, he did Lion King, he has done a lot.
He has tied the MCU together, and I'm sure he has amazing help. I'm sure there's so many people helping
Kevin Feige,
him.
the Russo brothers, Joss Whedon, there are so many people that were involved.
That just did this amazing job, and yeah, they had movies that weren't as good, but they had so many.
The casting director, good lord.
These characters are... Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. And will always be Iron Man.
Chris Evans is Steve Rogers. Chris Hemsworth...
I am Groot.
Chris Hemsworth has really... Especially with the new...
That was a good joke.
I got it. Especially with the new one. He really embodies... They all really embody who their character is. And it's just... beautiful.
No, and then in Avengers Endgame, after Infinity War was so heartbreaking, and we saw all these characters, and they got dusted, and it was sad. We got to see an Endgame these broken, really fucking broken people
Where they
try to win and try to bring it back.
The actors in all of those movies, there are no small parts in any of those movies.
Mm-mm.
And just the casting was just like, I don't know. God must love these movies because they're blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to just like, there was nothing else. There was no real, at the end of the day, there was no real contest. Not really. When you sit and look at everything they've built and everything and all the hard work.
No, and there have been some really good movies and some really big franchises. Like Toy Story, great franchise. How to Train Your Dragon, great franchise.
Jurassic Park, great franchise.
Star Wars, wonderful franchise. That ended this year. But the MCU has defined a generation.
And it's not over.
Right.
And that's something beautiful. That even though it was an end game, it is not over. And it will keep being this beautiful, and it, like with Disney Plus, it is going to expand into this
because
amazing
out of Endgame, like we're entering phase 4. This year we have Eternals and Black Widow, but in addition to that we have WandaVision, we have Hawkeye, we have the What If series, we have Captain America, we have Winter Soldier and Falcon.
When is that coming?
This year.
Bucky's my boo.
I know. But other than Chris Evans, right? You have him first,
well,
and then Bucky.
But he got Peggy.
No, but then we're gonna have She-Hulk. We're gonna have Miss Marvel. We're gonna have Moon Knight. We're gonna have all the different movies, and then after all of these great things, we're gonna get Fantastic Four, and we're gonna get X-Men. They're unprecedented. Absolutely,
it is the golden age of superheroes, and I really think, especially now with their new director Bob Iger, I know, they're working towards adding diversity. They're working towards it being all-inclusive. They're working on making...
And let the fanboys cry. Oh, boo-hoo!
If you don't like all the women and the diverse cast...
Go watch Justice League.
Go have fun. Because it's really going to open the door, and we're really going to see a shift in what we see in our movies, what we expect. We all also need to realize that not every movie can be Endgame.
No.
And that's why...
And this year, in comparison, I assume this year is going to be disappointing just because this year was the end of Star Wars, the end of Phase 3, the end of so many things.
There were so many movies this year that we were just incredibly looking forward to.
And now that they're over, it's almost sad.
It is sad. And there were so many surprises, and it was the end of a decade, and... We've been together for a very long time now. Mm-hmm. I mean, not compared to some people, but compared to others.
But yeah, we've been married 7.5 years. We've been together 10. There's a lot of history between us. And from the beginning, there has been the MCU. Even, now granted, and this is one of the things that Brittany will always hold over my head, is that I took my dad to see Captain America First Avenger because it's a World War II piece and he likes, that sort of thing. And I'm like, oh... He might appreciate Captain America because it's set in World War II.
Didn't even take me. I didn't even get to see it in theaters because we were poor then and we couldn't
Brittany,
afford to go.
And Brittany, loves him now, and I just feel so bad that I didn't get to take you. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say it on tape. I'm really sorry I didn't take you.
You should be sorry. Rude.
But, putting it in perspective, in May of 2008, when Iron Man came out, I was a literal child. I was not 18 yet.
We were only friends.
No, but I was still a child. I could not vote. I could not buy cigarettes. I was 17.
You know I'm younger than you.
Yes. I'm nearly 30 now.
You old as hell.
I am old as hell, right? And so I went from 17 years old to 29 years old, and in that 12-year span, I saw the beginning, the first spark of Iron Man in that cave, to the last snap of Iron Man in in Endgame, and what a 12-year arc that was.
The MCU has seen us through
11 years
through
still
so many moves. We've lived in 4 different cities.
Mm-hmm.
We've lived in 3 different states, and it's always there. And even though when we moved to a completely new state, we knew no one. We knew that there were still going to be MCU movies coming out, so at least we had something that we would look forward to.
And when we lived there, I believe we saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and we saw Captain America: Winter Soldier when we lived down there. And we can define how things that have happened based on what movies we saw where we were. Isn't that cool?
And it's something.
It's all connected.
And
it's just we have grown and
we
it
got
has
real
grown.
serious there for a couple minutes.
Well, that's because it is serious to us. Like we are MCU fans, and Disney doesn't pay us.
I wish Disney paid us.
God, that'd be so nice.
Disney got that buku money.
Oh no! And actually, to put it in perspective, we're going to Paris. We mentioned that this summer, and so
we are going to Paris because we want to go to Disneyland in Paris.
And they are opening a new hotel called Hotel New York in Paris in June.
No, the hotel's been open. They're just remodeling.
No, they're remodeling the entire thing, but it reopens in June, and we are going to be some of the first people to stay in Hotel New York, which is a Marvel-themed hotel that is going to have art galleries and Marvel-themed room and Marvel-themed
We blew a little bit too much of the budget on it.
Oh yeah, no, we spent way too much money, and we still have money to owe. But that's not the point. The point is that we want to put money back into what has made us so happy. And I think that Disney is the way to do it.
I hope our room is Steve Rogers themed. But...
And you know what it's going to be? Ant-Man!
I love Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, hey, Paul Rudd, he deserves on this list, but that's mainly because, one, he was in Endgame, and two, he was in A Living With Myself, which was such a fun Netflix
That's a really
mini.
good series.
It's a really fun one.
We're talking about doing a mini, and if this sounds cool to you guys, where we do a what did you call it? A stream mini?
A stream mini.
Where basically anything and everything that we stream that's original content.
Right, and that includes movies and shows. So we're currently watching The Witcher. That would be on it.
And we're watching You.
We're planning on watching Togu,
I think.
Togu, maybe.
And
we might watch Marriage Story. We might watch Dolomite Is My Name.
A couple of things like that.
And that way, when we're talking about the movies for the month, let's say February, right? We can talk about the things that actually came out in theaters, and we can save all the streaming shit for our stream mini, which
it's not any less good movies. It's just
a different platform. And even though we say it'll be like 5 minutes a thing, the fact that we go over so often, it kind of plays to the fact that
this is just a conversation for us. It's not. Like,
this is how we interact.
We're in our home. We're comfortable. We're both wearing matching pajamas, and obviously we don't even make our dogs be quiet. I mean, they were pretty quiet today.
Oh no, they were wonderful today.
Good little babies.
But two days ago when we did part 1, they were a nightmare.
Little nuggies.
Yeah, little nuggy bears. But anyway, that has been our award show. Dun 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 dun.
We'll put some fancy music on.
No, we won't because I'm lazy.
I don't know.
This is the music.
Let's cut that part.
Oh, we're not gonna cut out much out of this. I actually really like this episode. I don't think I'm gonna cut out too much. But
no outtakes.
Okay, so here's what we have planned. These 2 are going to be coming out here soon. You'll probably be hearing this mid-January, I'm hoping.
That's the
goal. Near the end of the month, we are going to put out one about streaming. We're going to do a stream mini.
Stream mini.
Yeah, a test stream mini.
If you like it, great. If you hate it...
Because normally we're going to do 2 episodes a month, but because this is such a long 2-parter, then we're going to do these 2 and then the mini... And then starting in February...
We're going to try to do 2 episodes a month and 1 stream mini.
Yeah.
If you really like them and there's a lot of stuff, maybe we put out a second one, but...
Right. But in February, we're going to talk about the January movies first. And then we're going to do a themed and then probably a stream mini. And then go by that format where we go movies in theaters first of the month. Then middle of the month, we're going to be doing something themed. We haven't decided what exactly, but something themed.
And then towards the...
And then somewhere in there, maybe in between those, some maybe at the end, we're going to be doing a stream mini where we talk about the things that we've been streaming, both TV, classics, shows, whatever. We're going to be doing that. So it's good to be back for Real Romance. Thank you so much.
Try to keep ourselves on track, but
we just have fun.
We don't do it for money.
No.
We're not getting paid.
No, we do not. And we do it through Undercover Capes Podcast Network. And let me just say, Al Mega, his whole crew over at Undercover Capes and Comic Crusaders, they're awesome. I really love the fam. And if you can, support them in the other podcasts that they do, because they have opened the platform up to us. And so
They let us do pretty much whatever we want.
Right, and so they don't censor, and they give us a voice, and so I do appreciate them. But we have social media, Real Romance UCPN on Twitter. We have Real Romance on Facebook, which we never check, but we do check Instagram, which is I believe
checked it today.
But it's also Real Romance UCPN.
No, it's just Real Romance. I made it myself.
Okay, yeah. So Brittany made it personally, so it's just Real Romance, spelled REEL, Romance, across all platforms. But yeah, it's REEL Romance UCPN.
And I'll start posting
on Twitter.
again.
Oh
once
yeah,
we get episodes out.
And once we can do it, but in the middle of the month in January, this should be online. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and we're hoping to make season 2 even better than season 1, staying on a schedule. Knock on some wood. And let's see the dogs bark, which they did not.
They sleep in. It's
Wow,
bedtime.
they didn't go off.
It's sleepy time.
It is sleepy time. All right, love y'all. Keep watching movies. Keep it real.
What is that?
That is a sign-off phrase, my dear.
Try again.
That's not a sign-off phrase. Keep it real. That's a sign-off.
Try again next time.
That's our sign-off. Try again next time.
Try harder.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.